An incredible waitress revealed a hidden skill, saving a billionaire from a touching disaster. Mia flexed her fingers behind the counter, inhaling the aroma of burnt coffee and greasy bacon that defined her world in the bustling diner. Faces lit up as she approached tables packed with laughter and conversation. Even as the sun streamed in through the vintage windows, sparkling with the essence of small-town Americana, her own dreams felt smothered beneath a load of responsibility. 2 kids battling teenage angst and an aging mother whose health slipped like sand through her fingers. Every order she took, every cup she refilled, served as a reminder of the artist she could never be. Then he walked in. John, a sharp suit, meticulously polished shoes, and a look of confusion that betrayed his billionaire status. He hailed from a world of high-stakes business deals and stress, yet here he sat in a rustic diner filled with chatter and clattering dishes that felt alien to him. Mia couldn't help but observe, intrigued by how such a man would choose this simplicity over the luxury he likely had access to. Before she could shake off the sense of curiosity, chaos erupted. John grasped the edge of the table, his breath quickening. Panic swept over him, a visible wave that crashed hard against the serene din of the diner. The weight of corporate expectations came crashing down, suffocating him. Reacting instinctively, Mia dashed forward, her waitress apron clinging to her like armor. "Breathe, just breathe with me," she said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. In that moment, she was not just a waitress, she was a lifeline. To her surprise, the 2 minds began to mesh in their little bubble, their worlds colliding in a raw intimacy. John took deep breaths, the tumult within gradually quieting as her calmness enveloped him. When his composure returned, gratitude filled his eyes, a look that echoed a connection beyond their social divides. "You have a gift, Mia," he told her, wiping the sweat from his brow. "I'm hosting a charity auction and I'd like to invite you to showcase your art." The words hung in the air, surreal and heavy. Art, a word so foreign to her, yet exquisite in its promise. She envisioned her canvases awash with color and creativity, potential bursting at the seams. But with it came the pang of reality. Could she step into the world of the elite? Before she could answer, panic clawed at her. What would they see behind the waitress uniform? Would they look past the coffee stains to uncover the artist struggling to break free? The truth loomed over her like a thundercloud. What if they judged her, just a simple waitress? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Her thoughts spiraled deeper, shackled by guilt. Her children's needs, her mother's health. How could she abandon them for art? Just as she wrestled with the decision, a family photograph slipped from the stack of clutter on the counter, its edges frayed. In it, a hidden history struck her hard. John's family and hers intertwined. Confusion blurred the lines of class struggle, jarring both her sense of identity and her capacity for dreams. As she confronted the possibility of new beginnings, the phone vibrated on the counter. John's name flickered on the screen, wrapping knots in her stomach. What could he want now? The air thickened with unresolved tension. Would his news be another wait or a possible doorway? Would this change everything? Her art, her family, her entire future? Mia hesitated, her gaze fixed on the phone, a tiny device laden with the weight of potential. Did she dare answer? With trembling fingers, she swiped to connect. "Hello?" Mia, John's voice crackled with urgency, pulling her into a tempest of anxiety and potential. "I think we should meet. There's something you need to know if you decide to showcase your art." The unspoken invitation burst with promise, yet uncertainty clouded her judgment. She felt simultaneously drawn to and repelled by the prospect, like an artist staring at a blank canvas, each stroke fraught with risk. "What is it?" she managed, her breath barely escaping. "It's about the auction and my past," he began, his tone leveling with an unexpected sincerity. "It might explain why I believe in your talents so much." In that moment, her heart raced. Here was a chance to delve deeper into the layers of not only John's life, but her own burgeoning identity. Could it bridge the chasm between waitress and artist? "All right, I can meet you," she replied, swallowing the knot in her throat, feeling unmoored yet resolute. She arrived at a small, tucked-away cafe that resonated with the understated comfort of her diner, but bore the weight of sophistication in its decor. As she stepped in, Mia glanced around, trying to gauge John's world through the eyes of a stranger. Patrons whispered in understated conversations that blended seamlessly with the soft hum of coffee machines. Yet the nervous flutter inside her remained. Everything felt foreign, yet arrestingly familiar. John stood, looking more relaxed than when they first met, though remnants of his earlier strained composure lingered in his eyes. "Thanks for coming," he said as she approached. The immediacy of his gratitude enveloped her with warmth. "What did you mean about your past?" she asked, cutting through the small talk that clung awkwardly to the air. Time felt like both an ally and an enemy, amplifying her curiosity while constricting her resolve. He leaned in closer, a conspiratorial look creeping across his face. "I was like you, an artist at heart. I had the ambition but got lost in, well, the corporate grind." His confession hovered just above their shared table, vulnerable yet powerful. "I quit pursuing my passion for years, prioritizing everything else that felt expected. I found myself bereft of joy." Mia's mind raced. Could she too one day present herself as a successful artist instead of a broken dreamer? His revelation flicked a spark of recognition within her. They were two souls tethered by fear, hers bound by financial responsibilities, his by overwhelming expectations. "What changed?" she probed gently. He smiled faintly, tracing the rim of his coffee cup. "Realizing life's too short to bury who you are. I decided to reclaim my passions. Each painting, every auction allows me to connect with artists like you, to confront the fears of our past choices together." His earnestness struck a chord deep inside her, forging a connection that both frightened and excited her. Could she really take this leap? "But I'm just a waitress. Will they see me as you do?" Doubt rumbled like thunderclouds within her. "Mia, you're more than your uniform. Your experience adds depth to your art. Embrace where you've been. It's what separates you from the rest." John's conviction stirred something dormant inside her, awakening a hunger for her long-neglected ambitions. As they stood to leave, a sudden thought laced with urgency surged in her mind. "What if they reject me?" she whispered, her vulnerability surfacing. "Then you create for yourself." His gaze pierced through her self-doubt. "But you'll never know unless you try." His words hung like a lifeline, yet the tide of uncertainty crashed against the shoreline of her resolve. In that moment, the weight of her decision grew heavier. This journey was far from over, and she could no longer pretend she was merely a waitress. Feeling the heavy pull of possibilities cascading around her, Mia turned to John one last time, conviction solidifying within her. "I'll do it," she stated, her voice steady yet laden with the gravity of her choice. But the question circled mercilessly in her mind. Was she truly prepared to face her past, the judgment of an elite audience, and, ultimately, herself? As they exited the cafe, Mia's phone buzzed again in her pocket, illuminating with an incoming message that promised answers but dangled unanswered questions in its shadow. What awaited her within those notifications could change everything. Mia fished her phone out of her pocket, her heart racing as she glanced at the notification. It was a message from her sister, Sophie, a flurry of emojis hinting at excitement. "OMG, just got tickets to the art auction. You should come. Can't wait to see your work." The juxtaposition of Sophie's enthusiasm against the backdrop of her doubts struck her. The world was connecting, and she felt like an outsider, unsure of where she belonged. The invitation to the auction loomed, further fueling the fire ignited by John's words. Casting a sidelong glance at John as they walked out of the cafe, she struggled to crystallize everything she had just absorbed. What if, she hesitated, her voice small, I'm just not good enough? John paused, fixing her with an intense look that was both direct and supportive. You'll never know until you step into the light. His words clung to her, magnetizing her to a new reality. Standing at the edge of possibility, she could almost feel the brush of success against her skin, yet fear threatened to shroud her in old, familiar shadows. As she entered the diner once more, the scent of frying bacon and fresh coffee surrounded her, a comforting but opaque veil over her increasing resolve. She thought of the artwork that lay scattered across her apartment, pieces bursting with depth, emotion, and yet trapped behind the glass of her own inhibitions. That night, Mia pulled out her sketches, allowing the flow of graphite and color to rush through her fingers. With each stroke, a new resolve took shape. She was not merely a waitress, but an artist who had withheld her essence from the world, a talented individual yet to see her own potential shine. Hours faded away as she immersed herself in her work, but the stark reality of the upcoming auction loomed. What would it mean to face a panel of judges, critics even, who would assess her worth? Lost in the rhythmic dance of her pencil, she wrestled with the cascading doubts. What if they believed her art was mediocre? What if her past was too loud, too intertwined with her identity to let her emerge as a respected artist? This internal battle was fierce, igniting a tumultuous showdown inside her. Yet, the voices of those who believed in her surged to the forefront. John, her sister, and those fleeting moments of self-appreciation that had felt too rare. "What do you want, Mia?" she whispered to herself, finally acknowledging the voice that had remained silent for too long. Art isn't perfection, it's expression. As dawn broke and the first light of a new day streamed into her studio, clarity washed over her. Mia would embrace this, imperfection, fear, and all. She grabbed her phone and messaged John, brimming with newfound determination. "Let's meet. I'm ready to talk about the auction." In the upcoming days, as she prepared her pieces, worry danced at the edges of her mind, but something else began to bloom: anticipation. She studied her work closely, discovering elements she had overlooked, highlighting stories that whispered beneath layers of paint. That evening, she caught sight of her reflection in a window, and instead of the apprehensive waitress, she saw an artist beginning to rise. Mia took a deep breath, her heart steadying as she forged forward, absorbing what felt like the echo of approval from a universe that had long held its breath. However, the auction was still a looming specter of fear and possibility. The stakes were high, and the thrill of the unknown still pressed upon her chest. Just as she began to feel a balance of courage and trepidation, another message vibrated through her. This one was from John again. "We need to talk about something important before the auction. Can we meet tomorrow? It's about the pieces I've seen." The question shot through her, igniting a blend of urgency and anxiety. What could it be? What crucial detail loomed on the horizon that might alter everything she had built up inside? As she stared at the screen, Mia felt the tides of fate shift, pulling her closer to a collision that would redefine everything: her art, her life, and who she was about to become. The next morning brought an electric anticipation as Mia prepared for her meeting with John. Each brushstroke on her canvas felt infused with a mix of excitement and dread. She couldn't shake the feeling that this conversation would be pivotal, yet she was also acutely aware of the heavyweight uncertainty held over her heart. After showering, she stared into her bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the artist staring back at her. A frizz of apprehension danced in her stomach, twisting her insides. "I can do this," she murmured under her breath, trying to channel the courage she had nurtured over the past few days. She felt a flicker of resolve, but shadows of doubt lurked just beneath the surface. Arriving at the cafe where they agreed to meet, Mia fidgeted with her phone, replaying moments from the past few weeks in her mind. She had taken steps, no matter how small, into a space where she had longed to belong. Yet she also questioned if she was ready for the world she was about to face. What if John had somehow seen her work as merely a facade, a mirror reflecting someone she wasn't? The bell above the door chimed, drawing her out of her reverie. John strode in, his presence radiating calmness. Mia was struck by the realization that he believed in her, and she needed that trust to bridge her own insecurities. "Hey, Mia," he greeted, beaming. "Thanks for coming." "Of course," she responded, her chest tightening as they settled into a quiet corner table. As they exchanged pleasantries, Mia noticed the slight furrow in John's brow. There was something weighing on him, and she braced herself for the conversation to unveil something more than what she expected. "I've been thinking a lot about your pieces," he started, leaning in, "and I wanted to discuss the auction strategy." Strategy! The word made her stomach churn. Wasn't art supposed to be organic, flowing effortlessly from the heart? Mia met his intense gaze, trying to read the depths of his intentions. "You need to play up your narrative, Mia. Your work isn't just art, it's a story," he said, his enthusiasm bubbling over. "I see layers of vulnerability and resilience in every piece. I want to help you present that." "But what if they don't see it? What if it's all just in my head?" she countered, frustration edging her voice. "What if someone thinks I just don't belong there?" "We'll make sure they see it. We'll prepare." His certainty was unwavering. "You have a voice, and it's powerful. You've just been cautious about letting it resonate." The determination in his voice gnawed at Mia's defenses, nudging her towards a truth she had avoided acknowledging. She was afraid of sharing not just her art, but her soul. "What if it doesn't resonate with anyone?" she whispered, almost to herself. With an intensity that sliced through her doubts, John leaned forward. "Or what if it strikes a chord with someone? You can't control their reactions, but you can control how you show up. It's about being unguarded." Mia swallowed. The surface of her resolve cracked further as emotional vulnerability surged within her. "What if they see me, a waitress pretending to be an artist?" "Then show them who you really are," he said, his voice softening but firm. "This auction can be a turning point, not just for your art, but for your life. You'll either stay hidden, or you'll step into the light." Mia's mind raced, the gravity of his words expanding the confines of her fears. Beneath his encouragement was an underlying truth that unsettled her, a realization that her art held power. Just then, her phone buzzed with another message, pulling her attention away momentarily. It was Sophie again. "Can't wait to see you shine. So proud of you." Her sister's unbridled support acted as a balm to her anxieties, reigniting the flicker of resolve she'd newly discovered. Perhaps she could find her place in this chaotic yet thrilling tapestry called art. "Okay," she finally breathed, looking John directly in the eye. "I'm in. Let's do this." As they began to strategize, Mia felt the warm confines of her doubts slowly start to unravel. She was gearing up to show the world her truth, but within this newfound determination lay a churning anxiousness. Her reality was about to become unarguable, and with that came a pressing question. Would she truly be able to bear it? With the auction days away, the stakes were rising. She couldn't turn back now. As she stepped into this new chapter, the path ahead loomed, uncertain yet laced with exhilarating potential. And just before they parted ways, John leaned closer again, whispering, "Remember, this is your moment." Mia's heart raced. Was she really ready for this? She left the cafe feeling the thrill of the moment mingled with doubt, the auction now buzzing in her mind. What did it truly mean to come alive in her art? Her pulse quickened as another thought hit her. What if I fail? What if I take the last step only to be met with silence? As these fears echoed in her mind, an unexpected thought ignited a deeper question within her. Could this be the moment that decided her artistic fate? The following days passed like a whirlwind, each moment charged with mixed currents of excitement and trepidation. Mia stood before her easel tirelessly, the vibrant hues of her paintings igniting under the frenzied brushstrokes that seemed to dance in rhythm with her beating heart. She felt as though she were preparing for a performance, each canvas an act of defiance against the weight of her self-doubt. But beneath that fervor, disquiet lingered. The haunting question, "Am I enough?" whispered through her mind, taunting her even in the quiet moments. The closer she got to the auction, the louder the doubts became. Was her art even worthy of a platform? Each time she glanced at her completed pieces, she felt pride warring with the gnawing fear that it might not translate to the audience. Sophie sensed her sister's internal conflict and showed up at the studio one afternoon, arms laden with snacks and energy drinks. "You need to eat, not just paint. Come on, Mia, what's the worst that could happen?" she said, plopping down on the floor. Mia couldn't help but smile at Sophie's unshakable optimism. "Not just a casual sale, Soph. This is my chance to prove something. In art, in life. What if I'm just a fluke?" "Then you'll be a fluke that tried, and I'll be here applauding you." Sophie's words hit harder than any motivational speech. They were simply life, recognizing that failure only meant you dared to chase after something. "What if I collapse under the pressure?" Mia's voice was barely above a whisper, yet it carried the weight of the universe. Sophie arched an eyebrow, not indignant but intrigued. "Mia, you're already an artist. You've created this beautiful space to express yourself. The auction is just that, a space. You could call it pressure or opportunity. It's your choice." Mia felt her pulse quicken. Opportunity? Could she see this auction as a chance to reshape her narrative rather than merely a test? She looked down at her brushes, the colors on her palette suddenly appearing more vibrant, more alive. Days drifted by, and with each sunrise came more feverish preparation. Alongside John, she began honing her presentation style, rehearsing how she would introduce each piece. He guided her to focus on the emotions they invoked, to share the backstories that challenged her as an artist twice over. The practice sessions chipped away at her surface-level fear, revealing layers of revelation about her soul and its connection to her work. "Trust in your story, Mia. Every brushstroke tells the journey," John reminded her one afternoon after a particularly intense rehearsal. "You're not selling paintings, you're sharing your heart and experiences." Something settled within her at his insistence. There was power in vulnerability, he had shown her. It was there, buried under layers of insecurity, that she discovered a burgeoning confidence. Her art was an extension of herself, messy, complex, but ultimately true. Saturday evening arrived, and as she dressed in the reflection of her small bathroom mirror, she observed the artist peering back. Once a stranger, now a familiar ally. She could see the fortitude she had uncovered. "I am not a waitress pretending to be an artist," Mia declared softly to her reflection. I am an artist, and I will show my truth. Stepping into the auction hall was like entering another realm. The buzz of conversation and the tangible anticipation in the air sent a rush through her veins. This was it. The overwhelming impulse to flee clawed at her insides, but grounding herself within her intent, she held her head high. But then John's voice floated through the crowd, redirecting her focus. "Everyone, may I have your attention, please? It's time to welcome a remarkable talent, Mia Nave." The spotlight found her, amplifying the soft thrum of her heartbeat. She stepped forward into the light, the support of every moment culminating into this one. And right then, amid her surge of vulnerability and raw expectation, she remembered Sophie's words. This isn't just pressure, but opportunity. With a slight tremor in her voice, she began. Just as she was about to dive into the narrative behind her first painting, a flicker of doubt sent her stomach into knots. The murmurs hushed around her, and the audience leaned in. They wanted to hear her story, not just see her art. Mia paused, took a deep breath, and reflected on the journey that brought her here. If she failed, she could at least say she had tried. But in that very moment, she caught a glimpse of a figure in the back, standing apart from the crowd. Someone familiar, someone she had not expected to see. Her heart raced as an intense wave of realization washed over her. The night's unexpected twist struck a chord deep within her. What if this person held the very key to unlocking her full potential? As the fear surged within her once more, she hesitated. The connection was palpable, and now she needed to decide. Would she let the fear take over, or use this newfound motivation to propel her career and life forward? The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. Mia's eyes remained fixed on the figure in the back, a face from her past that had once been a source of inspiration, now a potential catalyst for her future. This unexpected reunion threatened to spiral her thoughts into a tumult of emotions. Memories flooded her, a whirlwind of laughter, shared dreams, and moments of vulnerability that she had buried deep beneath layers of self-doubt. Could she invoke that same spark now? "Don't look away," she chided herself internally, striving for focus. The audience was patient, a sea of expectant faces waiting for her to share. They had drawn near, sensing a story waiting to unfold, one that felt more vital than any painting hanging on the walls surrounding them. Mia's heart raced, each beat echoing a battle within her. Fear wrestled with determination. Perhaps this was the moment she had been waiting for, a chance not only to present her art, but to reclaim her voice and the dreams tied to it. She visualized every brushstroke infused with her life experiences and her intricate relationship with the person currently threading through her thoughts. Each painting is a part of me, she reminded herself, a truth begging to be revealed. The figure in the back shifted slightly, leaning in with an intensity that ignited something inside her, a flicker of courage. She took a breath, tapping into the emotion that surged from her core. This is my time, she thought, her resolve crystallizing with each heartbeat. "Thank you for that warm introduction, John," Mia began, her voice steadying as she spoke out loud. "Tonight, I'm not just here to showcase my paintings. I'm here to share the story woven into each piece and, along the way, find my own narrative." An encouraging murmur swept through the crowd, reinforcing her determination. As she spoke, the words rushed from her lips, unearthing the vulnerability she had practiced revealing in front of mirrors and friends. She narrated the challenges behind her art, the shadows of self-doubt that often loomed larger than the colors she wielded. Yet she also spoke of clarity, the breakthroughs she'd encountered, and the relentless pursuit that led her to this pivotal moment. With every revelation, she could feel the audience leaning closer, their engagement deepening. Intrigued smiles and nods from the crowd filled her with warmth, as if she was transporting them into the vivid landscapes of her imagination. With each brushstroke painted in her narratives, she felt barriers dissolving, as if her art had transformed into a living conversation. But just as she began to feel the power of her words lift her, the familiarity of that figure at the back loomed larger. What if their presence signaled an end to her newfound momentum? What if it altered how she was perceived in the very community she hoped to embrace? The doubts began to coil like tendrils around her heart. Her presentation reached a moment of truth as she unveiled her favorite piece, a chaotic explosion of colors, the embodiment of her journey. "This piece encapsulates my fears, thoughts, and experiences," she declared. "It reflects the rawness of life, stripped bare, revealing the beauty amidst the chaos." Just then, the figure moved slightly. A soft smile spread across their face, and for the first time, Mia found clarity instead of confusion in their presence. The connection was not a threat, it was a reminder of who she had once aspired to be. The murmurs of fascination echoed back to her, urging her forward. Perhaps this night was not solely about her. It was about the community she had neglected and the support that awaited her amidst these individuals. Mia's heart steadied as she made a choice. She would lean into this opportunity rather than retreat into fear. "I can't afford to hide behind a mask anymore," she thought, her confidence surging. "The time has come to embrace all facets of my life." With that thought, her gaze broke away from the back of the room and swept across the eager faces before her. She seized the moment, speaking not only to them, but to herself. Tonight is a celebration of vulnerability and authenticity. Join me in this journey, and let's create a world that allows our fears to transform into inspiration. As the words left her lips, the atmosphere shifted. The applause that followed echoed in her soul, reverberating with every breath of support around her. But amidst the encouragement, there lay another layer of anticipation. The evening was far from over, and as the crowd began to disperse, she felt an even deeper urge to confront the figure in the back, the tension between them unspooling with each passing second. Would this conversation lead to the discovery of new insights into her journey, or would it open doors to vulnerabilities she had long avoided? As she stepped off the platform, that question pulsed within her, a thrilling mix of fear and hope driving her forward into an uncertain future. What lay ahead was a choice, one that could redefine her path entirely. Mia stepped down from the platform, her heart still buzzing from the energy of her presentation. The applause faded into a gentle murmur, but the figure in the back remained etched in her thoughts. Every step toward them felt like traversing the fragile boundary between exhilaration and anxiety. As she neared, her mind raced. The figure, Jason, had been pivotal in her early artistic endeavors, a mentor of sorts, whose encouragement had once propelled her forward. Yet their paths had diverged, leaving behind unspoken words and unresolved feelings that felt heavier than ever in this moment. "What if he doesn't see me as I am now?" she thought, a twinge of self-doubt creeping back in. For years she had fought against the shadows that lurked in her mind, battling the perception that her work was not enough. She hesitated, momentarily frozen in place, scrutinizing the ease of his smile. Could he still respect her after all the time apart? "Hey, Mia," Jason greeted, his eyes brightening with recognition. "It's been a long time." Her breath caught as she searched for her voice. "Yes, it has." She felt exposed under his gaze, each moment echoing the intertwining paths they once shared. The conversation turned her internal tug-of-war into a tangible interaction. "I heard your presentation," he continued, warmth threading through his tone. "It's amazing to see you so free. Your art, it's evolved beautifully." Something flickered within Mia, a mix of pride and vulnerability battling for dominance. It's been a journey, to say the least. I've been learning to embrace the messiness of it all. That's the key, he replied, nodding thoughtfully, embracing the mess. For a moment, they stood anchored in the shared understanding of creative struggle and growth, yet the weight of their shared history began to tangle the air again. Mia felt the urge to divulge everything, the retreat from creativity, the fire that had rekindled finally, and the lingering cloud of uncertainty still hovering over her artistry. But would reminding him of her struggles only underscore her inadequacy? Instead, she took a breath and steadied herself. Actually, it's the unpredictability of life that's been the real challenge, she found herself saying. Not all pieces come easily, and not every moment is inspiring, but I realized that's okay. It's made me appreciate the journey far more. I admire that about you, he said, his expression earnest. Most artists get caught up in perfection. It's refreshing to see someone embrace the flaws. That acknowledgement shifted something in Mia's core. It wasn't just his words. It was the realization that her journey mattered, that others respected it, even if she sometimes faltered in her own perception. With each shared thought, the conversation seemed to peel away layers of hesitation she had thought were ingrained. Maybe her hesitation wasn't rooted in fear, but in the complexity of her own aspirations. "Have you been working on anything new?" he inquired, tilting his head, genuine interest etching his features. "Actually, yes," she admitted, her spirit piqued. "I've been exploring some unconventional techniques, mixed media, emotion-driven abstract styles. I'm still finding my rhythm. It's scary, but liberating." Jason nodded, and for a moment it felt as though the walls of hesitation were tumbling down. "You should let me see," he encouraged, his smile infectious. "I'd love to collaborate again. Perhaps we can inspire each other." The thought sparked a blaze of curiosity in her. The idea of collaboration was one she had long deprived herself of, a haunting echo of past opportunities. "Collaborate," she repeated, weighing the idea. What would that mean for her creative journey? Yet, beneath the budding enthusiasm, a seed of fear sprouted. "Am I ready for that?" she questioned internally. Would joining forces with someone so experienced amplify her self-doubt or ignite a creative fire she desperately sought? As the conversation shifted, Mia felt a sense of possibility budding inside, a sense of determination that perhaps her trajectory was not a solo endeavor after all. But time was ticking, and before she knew it, the moment could slip away, leaving her with unasked questions and a recalibrated sense of purpose yearning for action. She took another breath, grounding herself in the here and now. "I'd like that," she responded finally. "Let's discuss it further." As they exchanged details, her heart raced with the tantalizing prospect of what lay ahead. Would this collaboration challenge her creatively, pushing her towards unforeseen heights, or would it prod at insecurities previously tucked away? But just as excitement nestled in her heart, something else unfurled. A shadow from Jason's expression shifted momentarily. Something unspoken rested between them. "Before we meet again," he added, his voice lowering slightly, "there's something we ought to discuss." The words hovered like a cliffhanger, leaving Mia teetering on the brink of curiosity and apprehension. What could he be hinting at? A shared past that had forged their artistic paths, or something deeper that threatened to unravel their renewed connection? The air felt charged, awaiting a revelation that could either bridge their worlds or build walls anew. Mia could barely focus on her own thoughts as she contemplated the next step, caught in a swirl of potential. Mia walked away from the conversation, her heart racing and mind swirling. The anticipation of collaborating with Jason tugged at her, blending excitement with echoes of doubt. Questions clung to her like shadows, darkening the edges of her newfound confidence. What could Jason possibly want to discuss? Had her past failures left a mark on their relationship that would resurface under the scrutiny of collaboration? As she moved away from the venue, Mia tried to gather her thoughts. The street outside buzzed with life. each passerby a reminder of the world she often felt disconnected from. The familiar cafe came into view, a sanctuary amidst the swirling energy of the city. She entered, the warmth wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. Ordering her usual, she settled into her favorite corner table, a space where she could think and reflect. The scent of espresso filled the air. Sipping her coffee, Mia began to confront her swirling emotions. Why had Jason's presence unsettled her so? She admired him, his talent, his passion, but that admiration was layered with insecurity. Her thoughts drifted to their past, a montage of vibrant colors and shades of doubt. Jason had been an anchor when she felt driftless, yet their paths had diverged through unintentional neglect and the inevitable passage of time. Had she allowed her self-doubt to poison what could have been a fruitful partnership? As she pondered, something clicked. She had been banking her worth on the perception of others. It had held her back. It had caused her to retreat when her instinct screamed for her to leap. Inspiration struck, a realization that she needed to trust in her evolution, to embrace not only her journey, but also her unique voice. With determination growing, she pulled out her sketchbook, its tattered edges both a comfort and a challenge. Today's focus was different. She wouldn't try to create a masterpiece. Instead, she would allow her emotions to flow freely onto the pages. The chaotic energy of her negative thoughts manifested as bold strokes, free-form lines intertwining with splashes of color that echoed her mixed feelings about Jason, the excitement, and the uncertainty ahead. Hours slipped away as she lost herself in the flow. Each stroke released a lingering doubt, and with every page turned, she embraced her identity as an artist on her own terms. Finally, she leaned back, slightly breathless, surveying her work. It was not polished or perfect, but it was undeniably hers, raw, emotive, and authentic. Maybe that's exactly the spirit I need to bring into the collaboration, she thought, a smile blossoming on her face. Embracing imperfection had redefined how she viewed her art, and potentially how she viewed her partnership with Jason. After gathering her things, Mia decided to call Jason. Each ring felt like a drumbeat, amplifying her pulse as she willed herself to leave hesitation behind. "Hey, it's Mia," she said when he picked up, voice steady. "I've been thinking about what you hinted at earlier. I'd like to explore this collaboration further, but I want to approach it without any past burdens getting in the way." There was a pause, and Mia held her breath, the weight of her vulnerability swaying the silence. "I'm glad you called," he finally replied, sincerity imbued in his voice. "I really wanted to talk about something personal. It's about our shared history and what it means for us going forward." Her heart raced, teetering between anticipation and trepidation. What could he reveal that felt so significant? "Let's meet and discuss it in depth," she replied, fighting to maintain her composure. "I think it's important we start with transparency." Mia ended the call, adrenaline surging through her veins. Perhaps this discussion would lay the groundwork for a creative partnership, or expose complexities she'd rather remain hidden. Either way, she was committed to embracing the journey, wherever it might lead. As she headed out the door, a familiar knot of apprehension settled in her stomach, the kind that signaled growth was on the horizon. But this time she felt ready. Stepping outside into the crisp air, she thought, the time had come to face whatever was left unsaid. Little did she know that the conversation awaiting her would not only challenge her artistic integrity, but also test her strength in navigating the complexities of her past. Mia arrived at the small bistro they had chosen for their meeting, the atmosphere infused with a blend of aromas that heightened her nerves. Large windows allowed natural light to pour in, illuminating the rustic wooden tables. She settled into a booth, fingers fidgeting with the edge of her notebook, fighting an inner urge to flee. As she waited, she absorbed the bustling energy around her. Each clink of cutlery, the low murmur of conversations, echoed the doubts within her mind. She glanced at her reflections in the window, recognizing an old version of herself, tentative and uncertain. What would she say to Jason? How much of her past should she reveal? When Jason entered, his presence commanded the space. He greeted her with a warm smile that seemed to rekindle memories of their creative synergy, a stark contrast to the weighty conversation that loomed ahead. "Hey, Mia," he said, sliding into the booth across from her. "Thanks for meeting me." "Of course," she replied, her voice steady despite an internal tempest. "I think it's important we clear the air before we start working together." He nodded, and for a moment she relished the awkward silence. It gave her a chance to reflect, to compose herself. But beneath that composure pulsed a wild energy, a compulsion to address their history head-on. "I've been thinking about our past," Mia started, feeling the heat of vulnerability prickle at her skin. "We've both changed, but I'm curious about how you see that change affecting our collaboration." His brow furrowed momentarily, revealing the depths of his imagination. "I appreciate your honesty. I think part of the reason I wanted to collaborate goes beyond your artistry. We always had such great chemistry, creatively. It was inspiring." Inspiring. The word floated between them, both inviting and ominous. But what happened? How did we drift? Jason leaned forward, each word weighted with significance. "I guess life got in the way for both of us. I took on projects that didn't resonate as deeply as I thought, and I lost touch with what truly mattered. I missed you, your perspective." The confession struck a chord within her, merging longing for connection with a hint of regret. "I thought it was me. I thought I wasn't good enough." "No," he interjected softly. "I never thought that. I just didn't acknowledge how important our collaboration was. I'm ready to change that now." The exchange unraveled a few tightly bound threads of doubt within Mia. She had spent too long internalizing failures, believing they defined her worth. "Maybe we can create something new together, something that speaks to our growth." "Absolutely," Jason responded, enthusiasm igniting his expression. "I believe we can draw on our past, but not be held back by it. Let's let our experiences shape our creativity instead of hindering it." As they spoke, a camaraderie began to weave back into place. Ideas sparkled between them, igniting innovation rather than rehashing what once was. Yet, as their conversation deepened, Mia felt an unsettling familiarity, an undercurrent of unresolved emotions. "What else is between us that we need to address?" she asked, her heart pounding at the prospect of deeper revelations. Jason paused, a flicker of hesitation crossing his face. "There's something I need to clarify, something unrelated to work. When we lost touch, I was going through some personal challenges." The words dripped with gravity, and Mia's stomach tightened. The weight of the unseen was about to reveal itself. "Your struggles?" she prompted, sensing that the conversation was poised on a precipice. He seemed poised to reveal something elemental about himself that could alter everything between them. "I didn't handle them well. I shut people out." His gaze held hers, revealing a flicker of vulnerability. "But I realized that I pushed away the very person who inspired me to keep going, and I regretted it." Mia's pulse quickened as relief mixed with concern. "And how did that leave you?" The answer lingered beyond his lips, something pivotal that could redefine everything for both of them. Would it break the old mold, invite healing, or create a rift too vast to bridge? "Let's get to the heart of it, Mia," he said finally, tension fraught in his voice. "This is more than just about our art." In that moment, Mia understood. They were at the edge of something profound. Whatever Jason had to share could change not only their partnership, but the course of her own journey. What lay beneath the surface was yet to be confronted, and as they navigated the complexities of their relationship, Mia felt the weight of her past raised a powerful question.
Would she embrace not just the new collaboration, but a new understanding of herself? With her heart racing, she braced for his revelation, knowing her response could redefine her place in not just his life, but her own. Mia felt the atmosphere thicken as Jason drew a deep breath, his eyes scanning hers for signs of understanding. The moment stretched, threading tension and anticipation through them like the brushstrokes on a canvas yet to be completed. "It's about us, what we could have and what we still might," he began, his voice lower now, tinged with gravity. "When we parted ways, I didn't just lose a collaborator, I lost a trust that was so vital to my artistry, and honestly, to my well-being." Mia's heart raced as she caught a glimpse of the emotions that lay beneath his words, a shared vulnerability against the backdrop of the artistic world that had once united them. "I felt lost too," she admitted, relieved to finally speak her truth. "In trying to find my way back to my art, I lost sight of who I was." Jason looked at her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken, and slowly she began to see echoes of her own journey reflected in his confusion and regret. "I shut you out because I was terrified of being honest about my struggles, and what I failed to realize was that pushing people away only isolated me further. If you hadn't left, I might have rediscovered my passion sooner." "Pain and fear don't just fade away," Mia replied softly, her own insecurities emerging from their hiding places. "They linger in ways we don't fully understand until we confront them. I didn't think I could reconnect with my art, let alone with you." Jason looked at her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken, and slowly she began to see echoes of her own journey reflected in his confusion and regret. "I shut you out because I was terrified of being honest about my struggles, and what I failed to realize was that pushing people away only isolated me further. If you hadn't left, I might have rediscovered my passion sooner." "Pain and fear don't just fade away," Mia replied softly, her own insecurities emerging from their hiding places. "They linger in ways we don't fully understand until we confront them. I didn't think I could reconnect with my art, let alone with you." In that poignant moment, all the doubts that had once clung to her began to evaporate. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, she sensed an air of possibility infusing the space between them. They were both standing at the crossroads of their vulnerabilities, yet instead of retreating, they had chosen to move forward, navigating their way back to an authenticity that had once defined them. "I believe in the work we can create together," Jason said, his voice resolute. "But we need to commit to being honest with each other about our art and ourselves. Otherwise, we'll be repeating the cycle, finding ourselves lost again." Mia nodded slowly, her heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of growth that pulsed between them. "Then let's build something that embraces our realities instead of masking them. I want to share where I'm at, not just with my art, but with all of it. I need to strip away the layers too. It's time to shine a light on my journey, my struggles, my creativity, and every imperfect piece that led me here." There was an electric charge in the air, and for the first time in a long time, Mia felt seen, not just as an artist, but as a person. As their conversation continued, they dove deeper into what collaboration could mean. They envisioned art that resonated with the struggles of others, pieces that spoke directly to their shared experiences and kindled belief within the hearts of those who felt lost. "I want my art to reflect the growth I have achieved, even under the weight of my fears," Mia continued, her fingers gingerly tracing the outline of the notebook. "Let's make art that's not just aesthetically pleasing, but art that contains our lived experiences. I want to leave something behind that makes others feel understood." There was an electric charge in the air, and for the first time in a long time, Mia felt seen, not just as an artist, but as a person. As their conversation continued, they dove deeper into what collaboration could mean. They envisioned art that resonated with the struggles of others, pieces that spoke directly to their shared experiences and kindled belief within the hearts of those who felt lost. "I want my art to reflect the growth I have achieved, even under the weight of my fears," Mia continued, her fingers gingerly tracing the outline of the notebook. "Let's make art that's not just aesthetically pleasing, but art that contains our lived experiences. I want to leave something behind that makes others feel understood." A smile broke across Jason's face, shining with the kind of warmth that banished her lingering doubts. "That's exactly it, Mia. Let's not just share our resources, but our histories. Together, we can be catalysts for each other, and by extension, for those who see our work. Music, poetry, emotions, all woven into our art." This was the partnership Mia had yearned for, one built on authenticity and trust. "Let's do it then," she said, her voice steady as resolve solidified within her heart. "Let's embrace our stories, create a series that showcases our evolution from doubt to empowerment, reflecting every layer that makes us who we are." As they set the foundations for their collaboration, a sense of solid confidence enveloped Mia. This wasn't just a project, it was a way to reclaim her identity, her artistry, and her voice. They exchanged ideas, laughter slicing through their previous tension as they began to shape visions into reality. In the days that followed, Mia felt the weight of her past lift, the art flowing more freely through her like a river unblocked by dams of doubt. She dove even deeper into her work, honing her skills and moving beyond the restrictive boundaries she had set for herself. One evening, as she gazed at the completed canvases across her studio, she felt a wave of satisfaction wash over her. Each piece exuded life, vibrant colors, textured layers, and intricate stories that intermingled to create a tapestry of her journey. At the auction, she would not only showcase her art, she would unveil her heart. The powerful message threaded through her work was one of self-discovery, connection, and mutual encouragement, an image of every facet that made her, her. Then came the day of the auction. She stood in front of the crowd, the familiar faces, and countless strangers, ready to share her narrative. The fear had transformed from a heavy weight to a lightness within her soul, allowing her to present herself with unwavering confidence. As she glanced over the sea of faces, a wave of pride swelled deep in her chest. Mia had conquered her hesitation. She had demonstrated growth by showcasing her art while revealing her authentic self. Within the heart of her creations lay a celebration of vulnerability, turned strength, crafted with honesty and purpose. She concluded her speech and unveiled her final piece, a striking amalgamation of colors and emotions depicting her own journey towards empowerment. The audience erupted in applause, not merely for her art, but for the spirit of courage imbued in every stroke, a standing ovation for both the artist and the human. In that moment, Mia knew she had not only succeeded in presenting her talent, but had also achieved something far greater, fulfillment in proving to herself that she was an artist worthy of recognition, one who had confronted her fears and emerged victorious. As she stepped away from the podium, she spotted Jason in the audience, his encouraging smile a reminder of the transformative partnership they had forged. Their journeys were now intertwined, each guiding the other forward, carving paths through realms they once feared to tread. Mia had not merely transformed her art, she had transformed her life. She had achieved personal growth and professional recognition, emerging as an artist who embraced every element of her complex identity. This new beginning held the promise of limitless potential, as she stood ready to embrace the brighter future laid out before her. Remember, the journey began with one choice. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.
This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.